So when I was thinking about this video, I was really just trying to figure out how I was going to give a testimony to basically the one camera that really just changed everything in regards to my workflow over the past, I want to say about 2 years I've had this camera. And if you're wondering what camera that is, it's a Panasonic Lumix S5iiX. While to many of those, shocker, this is not a brand new camera. The brand new camera that I actually have and film with as my A camera these days is the S1 Mark II. But back to the Lumix S5iiX and how it completely changed my workflow. This is just a first-hand, off-the-cuff testimony in regards to someone that's been using it for almost 2 years now, and how, as someone that shoot with the Lumix GH5, the GH4, the GH7, I've shot with the S5, the S1 Mark II. I've just had an assortment of Lumix cameras. This was the one that completely changed the game. So let's go ahead and jump into exactly why. Now, for many of you guys out there, if you're not familiar with the channel, I typically run as a one-man band operation, whether it come to podcast, mini documentaries, music videos, live performances, event content, event coverage. It doesn't matter. 99% of the time, I'm running up in there by myself. So that leads me to the Lumix S5iiX, which I've made some videos. Golly, it's been well over a year now when I first got this camera in my hand. Like I said, I've had this almost coming up 2 years, and hands down, one thing that just changed the game is going to be autofocus. And I give a first-hand testimony that the Lumix S5iiX is the first Lumix camera I've owned that came with fully reliable autofocus. Now, an added bonus, full-frame camera, dual native ISO, whether it be ISO 640 or 4000. Now, as we jump into the Lumix S1 Mark II, that one actually shoots dual native at 640 and 5000. Just a little bit of a tweak in between the two. Now, full frame, slow motion, IBIS, that's great, Bluetooth capabilities, the ability to have USB-C for recording or for powering. IBIS, if you are familiar with Lumix, is amazing. And I wanted to break out some of the lenses that I've used over the past few years to really complement this camera. And what's funny is most of you will laugh because it's either native glass or very cheap glass. Now, in the beginning, when I owned this camera, I started off with the 20-60 kit lens, which is an f3.5 to 5.6. Some of you guys would laugh, but I love that the 20mm is nice and wide. And this camera has open gate, and having the ability to go a little bit wider really has saved me in some shots. So I'm willing to give up a little bit of aperture to have a wider shot. Now, I've used non-native glass like the old school Canon EF mount glass paired up with the Sigma adapter L mount, and autofocus is pretty solid. I will admit it does not compare to the native autofocus, but it's totally usable, whether it's face tracking, whether it's person tracking, whether it's just oval, square autofocus. It's definitely usable and what I would consider reliable. Some of the other lenses that I've used and really complement this camera and the S1 Mark II, the 28-200. This is an f4 to an f7.1, which seems crazy, but this lens, if I only got one lens, it would be this. And a lot of it has to do with the dual native ISO. To me, unlocks a lens like this where I don't have to worry if I have to shoot f7, I can still go up to ISO 4000, or with the other camera, the S1 Mark II, 5000, and I'm still getting plenty of what would you consider well-exposed shots. Not as much blurry background, but when you can go from 28 all the way to stinking 200 when you're at an event, it just, the range of shots that you can get are incredible. And this is super lightweight. I can run it on my gimbal, and most of the time with my Zhiyun Weebill 3 that's over my shoulder, I can go to like 100 mil, and that's when it starts getting a little wacky. But you can also throw it in APS-C mode, and boom, you have some more range as well. Old Nifty 50, this was recently used for a mini documentary that I did last year. We also bought some Mikey 35mm f2.0. I bought this a while back, super crazy cheap lens, mainly to get some shallow depth of field, but now I also have the 24-60 f2.8 Lumix glass, which is, but codecs, open gate, IBIS, everything's included. I feel like nowadays someone could go out and scoop this camera up for real cheap and be absolutely blown away by it. Now, I will say you do have a little crop when it comes to slow motion That is something that you don't have in the S1 Mark II. But as someone that this was my A cam, I didn't even think about it. And in a weird way, I don't mind the crop sometimes. I find that like, ooh, okay, I can get a little bit tighter with this crop. And as far as wide shot goes, if needed, I can always work around that. So this camera coming in at like $2,000 has just been an absolute weapon for my production company. If you guys are familiar with Lumix cameras, I just find them to be extremely reliable. I know that Sony's going to offer low light capabilities, full frame across the board when it comes to all their kind of specs and things of that nature, but this camera, I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of got to get it in your hand, shoot with it, and then you'll kind of start to realize this thing is an absolute beast. Now, for many of you, you might be aware, I love to rock V-mount battery, which I typically will rock the V-mount to power my monitor, and then the V-mount also to pump some power through the USB-C so that I'm constantly having a power source. Now, will it fully run the camera off of USB-C? I have not found that to be the case, but it definitely will get that battery life a lot of extended life. I do have the ability to go straight in with a dummy battery. It's just one of those things where sometimes I'm not trying to tie up the deep tap. I prefer to just use USB-C and USB-C-B. All of that to be said, you've probably seen some footage that's been rolling, some of the projects that I've done with this particular camera, and it boils down to it, whether it be photography, whether it be videography, for $2,000, just been blown away. Now, I will say the bar has been set a little bit higher with the S1 Mark II. There's a couple of the features that were lacking here, whether it be like, let's just say there's no crop, you have waveform, or I'm sorry, you have false color built into the S1 Mark II, but that's something that I'm getting those features through this monitor, so I kind of bypass some of those features. It's nice to have them in camera now, but for those 2 years, this camera just kept blowing me away. Also, I have to say, as far as log goes and shooting in those native profiles, you really get a crisp, clean image. I don't find much grain. I find the skin tones look pretty good, and I found a couple of LUTs that I think really work good in regards to this particular camera and a workflow that I like. So all in all, this camera, I'm just giving its praise. I thought I should talk about it because I shot so many projects last year with it, and I credit it with being the A cam, the money shot, and the one that never let me down. All those other cameras, angles, things of that nature, they come in handy, but having that reliable A cam is a fantastic kind of piece of equipment to have in your arsenal. Now, it makes sense. We all have A cams, but I don't know about you, this one, we've got dual SD card slots here, which is something they got rid of in the S1 Mark II. They did CFast plus one SD. I really enjoy having two SD slots because those are the kind of cards I run. I can throw two 250s in there, or if I wanted, I can do 500, 500, and you've got camera cards and, you know, space for days. I will say I'm the guy that typically runs in the, I'll do, you know, 10-bit, 422, 24 frames per second, but I'm not doing it in like a ridiculous compression or anything like that. So a lot of times my workflow is how quickly and easy I can get and access these files. And what I found is the Lumix S5iiX gives me everything that I need. So 10 minutes of blabbing about one of the cameras that completely changed my workflow. And I want to say, let's see, I received this in like 2023. So yeah, it's 2025 and this guy is just, listen, when the S1 Mark II showed up, of course it became my air camera because it has a couple of new features. But if that camera kapooied out of nowhere, this one would step in seamlessly, no issues. But yeah, 2025, if you're looking for a good bang for your buck, you want to enter the full frame Lumix camera market, and maybe you're a little hesitant to go all in on one of the newer models, I would definitely check out one of these refurbished, or maybe you can pick it up in some other form of the marketplace. But all in all, Lumix S5iiX. Jeez, blah, blah, blah. I've got so many different Lumix cameras, I kind of get tongue-tied. Incredible camera, changed everything, full frame. It's what I'm shooting these days, if I can, fully around. And yeah, got some glass to complement the camera. And all in all, whether it's docs, podcast, commercial work, quick social media, this thing's been crushing it. OpenGate has really changed the game, and having two cameras now that both shoot OpenGate really is just a game changer. So weigh in below. What are you shooting with? What do you like? What did you not like about this camera? What do you maybe even not like about Lumix or some of the other brands? I always want to know, hear your feedback. And as always, it's Trey Lowell with Lowell Productions, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Woo! God, it is so hot here in Florida. It's 91 degrees here in the studio. I've got an AC unit going right there, and it's just not even helping. It's like 110 degrees outside.